Well, I think the importance of innovation for economic growth is very well established. If you think of the way that the Western economies and the world economies have grown over the last 200 years, it's very much based on technological change, and at the root of that technological change is innovation. And the way that we have sort of built a system and we've sort of evolved towards a system which encourages innovation is based on intellectual property rights, IP. That was a pretty important turning point in Britain, for example, when patents started being enforced, because it really created not only the right incentives for people to go ahead and put their energy and investment in new ideas and generating new ideas, but it also created a market in ideas. And that system essentially has been the bedrock of Western growth and by its implication for world growth for the last 200 years. The problem is that IP is not a perfect system. Essentially innovation is important not only as a driver for growth, but also because it creates a whole host of spillovers. It's not only the firms that do the innovation that benefit from it, but all the consumers and all of the firms that are potentially competing with that firm, even though in the short run they are hurt by the innovation of a rival. At the end, they can also build on that innovation, and they get a leg up in the way that they are trying to develop their products or improve their processes. So IP is a very narrow way of rewarding that innovation, and I think it's also imperfect because it can easily be sort of misused. And I think right now what we are seeing is IP is probably not sufficient to generate enough innovation in some critical areas. I think the most important one would be the green technology, but this might be true for much more broadly than just green technology. B, the IP process is becoming much more bureaucratic because it's now, there are millions of patents, there are millions of companies competing for patents, and it's sort of it's on the verge of becoming self-defeating because it's become such a bureaucratic process. And C, I think there are big loopholes in the IP process, and that's what we're seeing with the patent trolls and the patent thickets. Companies like Data Treasury or Intellectual Ventures that have essentially made it their sort of business to sort of collect a lot of patents and kind of extort money to some degree, and I think it's really distorting the way that business is done and distorting the way that intellectual property rights should be enforced in many sectors. So I think an overhaul of the patent system is necessary. I think the whole thing needs to be made less bureaucratic, but also I think there needs to be some thinking about whether patents, especially in areas that are sort of where there are already existing best practice behavior or technologies, should be relaxed in some ways. Software patents, I think, should be rethought, and sort of the relationship between copyrights and patents needs to be rethought. But I think that's a very, very important thing. I think getting rid of software patents by itself might probably be too radical, but changing software patents so that they are different and they're enforced in a different way, and perhaps they have a shorter shelf life, is certainly things that should be thought about. But I think it's equally important to sort of make it easier for small companies and for even large companies to actually be able to deal with intellectual property with much less bureaucratization.